welcome to another edition of the Red Mountain Express. I am your host, Blake Westbrook, and joining me as always is Mr. Matthew Joyner. Mr. Joyner, we on 28 now?
Episode 28. We are booking it, cooking right along.
How's your week been going?
Man, I really don't know that anything that I can talk about has happened this week. It's been a pretty quiet week. Now, my weekend has been nice. So I need to preface this. It's not been nice because Laura's out of town. Laura is out of town, but my weekend's been nice because I've gotten a lot of stuff done. Like, I've been doing a little home improvement
Walking
projects.
around in your underwear, eating steak every night.
Standing on the back porch of my underwear, polar bear challenge, waving at my neighbors.
That's why your neighbors had moving trucks. I see.
No, just, lots of little home improvement projects that I've been, I guess, stacking up on my list and finally getting through those. So that's nice. But it's been quiet. Like, I haven't done anything big to talk about.
Or productive?
No.
You've been productive?
It's been productive, just not anything to talk about, really. It's all like little small stuff you're not going to brag about, but stuff you feel good about when it's done.
I fixed the toilet paper holder in the bathroom.
I tightened that screw.
What
about you?
The problem is you don't have Laura here to brag about it. Like, honey, guess what I did?
No. So I'll bring her home tomorrow, and I'll walk her through the house at each little thing I did. Like, look at this. Do you see what I did there?
What was it? Have you ever listened to Jeff Foxworthy? He always talked about how, men will brag about every little thing they do. He goes, your wife could be out front paving the driveway and be like, hey, honey, I didn't empty that ashtray full of toenails in the living room.
Yeah.
Just letting you know, I did that for you, sweet. Hey, it's hot out here. Anyway, hey, I'm looking good. I'm going to go take a nap. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm guilty of that. I'll tell her, like, I went ahead, I put some stuff in the dryer. My wife's like, yeah, you don't have to tell me.
I folded some socks earlier.
Oh, folding clothes. That's like my kryptonite. I hate folding clothes.
I got some of that to do later.
Yeah.
Again, stuff I saved up all week, and now I get to do it this weekend. But hey, it's MLK weekend. I have tomorrow extra time to do that, so that's good.
Long weekend, I guess.
Got any MLK Day plans?
No, I mean, I really don't. I mean, my wife has to work, so she's not off tomorrow. So our daughter's daycare is closed, so it's daddy-daughter time tomorrow. So
nice. Probably
full of a bunch of Elmo and Fisher-Price toys.
Nothing wrong with some Elmo.
No, I'll tell you what, she has this little a xylophone, and there's a website where you can learn how to play a bunch of songs on there. So I can play We Wish You a Merry Christmas, and so I'm working on a new song.
Yes, I recall your snap.
Did you like that? Come on, it was cool. Do not lie to me. It was really, really cool.
If it had been during the Christmas season.
January. It was January, but come on. And it said, and a Happy New Year. And since we are still in...
All right, fair enough. Fair point.
See.
What'd you do this week? You have anything going on?
Well, so I did celebrate my 33rd birthday on Monday.
Happy birthday.
And also on Monday... Alabama won the national championship in football.
By the skin of their teeth.
I tell you what, I was very, very worried going into the second half. And then Nick Saban changes quarterbacks, and that guy is amazing.
So let me ask you, why has he been the invisible man all year?
Well, I'll put it this way. You dance with the one who brought you there. And Jalen Hurts was 23-2, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Over 2 years, he got you to a national championship 2 years in a row.
Right.
So why wouldn't you go with him?
Sure, but I mean...
I get that. I know. I get what people say.
He needs a break every once in a while, right?
He's getting a break now. That's
the
for
first
sure. He got a 2-quarter and overtime break.
Good gosh.
I mean, that kid came in and was just amazing. And then the overtime, watching that. Well, first of all, going into overtime, we can recruit a 5-star for every damn position, but when it comes to a kicker, it's just like, hey, this guy looks like he can kick the ball. No,
there's only the one kicker in the state, and we happen to get him on.
And he's from like an Alabama family too. Yeah, Auburn will get a kicker every year, man. I don't know what it is.
If we don't get a kicker next season after Carlson's gone, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
I mean, you could have a kicker that comes in after that guy that kicks 90% of his kicks, and you're like, oh, he's terrible.
Yeah,
we would take that guy.
Yeah, you need him.
Alabama's had good kickers in their history. You had. Michael Proctor in the early 90s was an All-American. You had Van Tiffen in the 80s who kicked a 50-yard field goal to beat Auburn and was very, very good. And you also had Van Tiffen's son, Lee Tiffen, who had some growing pains, but his last year there was an All-American as well. So, I mean, we've had good kickers.
But not this decade.
But, man, it's been rough. I remember we were watching the game, and mind you, I have a 1-year-old, so we're trying to be quiet in the living room, which is literally impossible for me during an Alabama game. Yeah. And we line up for that kick, and I was like, we're going to miss this. And he just hooked it. But let's be fair to Mr. Papanatas? I don't know how you say his name. He did hit 2 kicks in the game that were very critical for Alabama, but I heard someone say that kick went so far left it hit the left wall of my living room, and I was like, that's about right. I mean, but yeah, so the kick happened, we missed it. I'm like, well, this is how we're going to lose, and then we sacked Georgia, and then they kick a 51-yarder, and I'm like, so here we go, and so all right, touchdown wins this thing. And so first play of overtime, Tua Tagovailoa gets sacked, takes a sack that he should have never taken. He should have thrown the ball away. I'm going crazy. And I'm like, all right, let's just get it back a little bit of a time. And then he throws a scud missile to Devontae Smith, who is also a true freshman, and we're now national champions. It was amazing. It was just
once again
because it was so sudden. I think that's what was so bad. It was just so sudden, like.
Well, at a certain point, like, I went to bed a little bit early because I thought this game's over. Like, Georgia's got this.
Did you wake up and go, what?
Well, I wasn't really upset. Like, I'm kind of glad Alabama won. You know, I live in the state. I didn't really want Georgia to beat us their second time around to win.
You're an Auburn fan. Explain that to me, because
all right, so for me, and I know for a lot of Auburn fans, there's a lot of people that will say, you know what, I don't care if Auburn can't have the national, championship title, I at least want Alabama to have it. So somebody in the state has it. I don't really go for that every year because there is a rivalry there, and I do want Alabama to suffer a little bit.
Because we live with each other.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah. Well, we don't live with each other, but
well, no, just on Sunday afternoons when we record this.
Yeah. But I guess so we played Georgia the first time. We beat them. It was a really good game for us. They come back that second game though, and they just we played bad and they played really good. I don't want Georgia next year to be able to recruit off of that national championship title.
That guy's Kirby Smart's recruiting. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and they're going to get some good players, but how many more good players will they get if they're national champions?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, and plus, I'm used to dealing with Alabama bragging. Like, I'm used to them holding up how many fingers they can to show how many titles you guys have.
Fingers and toes, I guess, yeah.
I don't want to have to deal with Georgia fans bragging as well. Plus, they're out of state.
But how many Georgia fans do you know, though?
I know a couple.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just enough that I would have to hear it.
That makes
sense.
I mean, if you that's how I tell folks who are from other states. They talk about how Michigan and Ohio State's a big rivalry. I'm like, yes, it is a big rivalry, but y'all don't live amongst each other. Y'all live in separate states. Here, we're all surrounding each other, and it's just it can get brutal sometimes.
Plus, it's not only do we fuel it ourselves as Alabama and Auburn fans, but then it's also pushed upon us because it's become this monster where even ESPN puts out ads about the rivalry. And
absolutely. Well, and because if you think about it, for a long time, the winner of the Alabama-Auburn game played in the BCS National Championship or in the playoff.
Yeah. Except
for this year. But yeah, we watched that game. It was a great outcome. And it was just kind of a long week of work. It's turned cold again.
No joke.
I reffed a wrestling tournament on Saturday, and then luckily I was inside all day. And something we didn't talk about was apparently the folks in Hawaii got a great text message that scared the living bejesus out of them.
All right, yeah. So set the stage for anybody that doesn't know.
Yeah. So, okay, you're gonna have to talk about this because I didn't hear about this till last night.
Oh, okay.
But apparently. They got was it a text message? Apparently, how if you're
like an emergency broadcast.
Yeah. So let's say you got bad weather coming, and all of a sudden you get a thing on your phone that says, flash flood warning or tornado warning, take cover. Well, is it everybody in Hawaii? Pretty much.
So far as I understand it,
got a text message saying ballistic missile headed for the Hawaii. This is not a drill. Right? Is that what it is?
Yeah. It said this is not a drill. This is not a test. Whatever. I mean, it was pretty clear.
Yeah.
All right, so, if you don't know, ballistic missiles really can only be a couple different things, but none of them are good.
And especially with the madman we have on the Korean Peninsula right now.
And the madman provoking him from the Oval Office.
Yeah, so, we got people are a little nervous, especially if you live in the South Pacific. And so, but apparently it was a test, right?
Well, or it was a mistake, or a test, or an accident. I don't really know. Nobody said.
Let me ask you this: how do you think the guy who is responsible for this, who hit the wrong button, how long do you think it took him before he realized what he did?
I bet it was pretty instant.
You think so?
Yeah, I bet it was one of those like I sat on the desk and hit the wrong button, and now I have to go into hiding. Because
you think he got fired? He got fired, right?
I don't know. I mean, he's military. I'm assuming, unless they have this big. Well, okay. So
how do you explain that in a job interview, though? Like,
you don't.
So tell us what happened to the last job. Well,
I left for personal reasons.
Yeah.
That's.
I accidentally sent a text message to every Hawaiian.
All right, so
there's a missile coming their way.
All jokes aside, though, like, can you imagine you're in Hawaii? I mean, because I know people that live in Hawaii. Like, can you imagine getting that text message on your phone, or living on the mainland and knowing you have friends or family that are in Hawaii for vacation or that live there, and hearing that there's a ballistic missile on the way? Like, what do you do?
Or if you're like a surfer smoking weed on the beach, what do you do?
Well, I mean, at that point, I think maybe you just
we're just gonna sit back and enjoy life, enjoy the rest of our life.
I mean, but in all reality, like, I mean, the scary situation, like, you're on the island there and you get that text message and you've got kids in school. Like, I mean, if it's me, like, I'm doing everything I can to go, like, get them, or if I'm at work, I'm leaving work. Like, forget that. I'm not working the next hour if I know a missile's coming.
I mean, do you think there were people that they saw that, they thought it was the end, and finally told their bosses what they really thought about them?
I hope so.
Because you get that, and it's coming, but you probably have an hour. You're like, you know what? Tom's in that corner office.
Let's do
I'm going to go
this.
tell Tom how I feel.
And then drop the mic and leave.
And leave. And then all of a sudden you're kind of waiting for that missile to show up.
Which, you know what? If you really feel that way about your boss, it's good that you finally got it out there and you can find another job.
Yeah, but you can't feed your family at that point.
Maybe Tom, the boss, will have some mercy and, hey, there was a missile coming. I understand. You said things in duress. You didn't really mean them, right? No, sir?
No, sir. I did not mean them. So that happened, and but I was like, I was home and we were eating dinner, and my wife told me about it. And I was like, wait, what? And she goes, yeah. And I was like, this is a joke, right? This is on SNL, right? She's like, no, this is real. And I was like, holy moly, what? Yep, someone got fired. Somebody got fired. I mean, I don't know. Okay, so I know the FCC is looking into this. They have some kind of involvement here, maybe because of the way these things aren't tested, or maybe because the testing systems are under the FCC's purview. I'm not really sure, but I don't know. So I know a lot of the nuclear and ballistic detection systems are run by the military. Maybe this was a civilian site, but if it's a military site, this guy's being watched by the... Well, I wonder if this was whoever does the... whoever gets the alerts on the phone, whoever does those, the National Weather Service, I don't know if they have that capability, or there's somebody at the Civil Service that has. I don't know if they even have that anymore. I'm just saying that I don't know if this was military. This was probably somebody who was supposed to send out alerts to phones messed up. Because every now and then you'll get like an ESPN alert that someone messed up on. Do you think this is something like that?
I mean, it could be. I hope it's as simple as that. Like, it's a civilian operation and somebody just hit the wrong button.
But you think that you have like a 2-minute, like, hey, if you want to stop this,
right? Like, are you sure you want to do this?
Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to tell everybody in the state of Hawaii that a ballistic missile is on the way?
I get a "Are you sure" message when I try and delete something on my computer. If you don't get a "Are you sure" message when you try and send out a "Hey, there's a ballistic missile coming" message, they need to look at that system and maybe make some changes.
You think some changes are going to be made, Matthew?
I hope so. Maybe just a couple.
I'm looking up the actual text now, because I actually want to read this and make sure that we're getting this right, the wording of it. Because the best part about it wasn't just like, hey, there's a missile on the way. It was like, this is not a drill or something of that nature.
Well, if it was anything like the weather alerts you get on your phone, there was a siren that came before it. I mean, because if you're in a public place and you have a lot of people around you with their phones, all of a sudden you start hearing those sirens go off on everybody's phone, something's happening. It's either an Amber Alert or a bad weather event or something. So I can only imagine that's a similar situation for an alert like this.
Yeah, it says, emergency alert, missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill.
That's insane.
I'm looking at someone who I had this on Twitter. I don't know who this is, but they show like a screenshot of their screen, because apparently they were asleep, and it says, WTF is this, ? Sis, if you're sleeping, wake up and call us immediately. Honey, take shelter. I love you. Missile in Hawaii. I mean, it's like all these.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's funny now to look at it.
You wake up to that.
But, like, okay, so then what if you're that guy who slept through it and woke up 2 hours later and sees the alert on your phone? You're like, do I look out the window? Is the world around me ended and I just managed to survive? How long does it take you to get out of bed and actually survey the scene after that?
Pretty darn quick, I hope. We've spent a long time on Hawaii and the missile threat.
You know what? It was a big story. Like
it's not funny, but it is.
You can look back at it now and laugh a little bit, but I can also imagine the very grim fear that would occur if you were in that situation and you got that message on your phone. Like, especially in this day and age when you don't know what's going to happen.
Mm. And you live in Hawaii. I mean, you think you're in paradise and then you're not.
No.
But other than that, my weekend was great. I mean, had some Rusty's barbecue this afternoon.
Nice. Always enjoy Rusty's.
Man, love Rusty's. Their white sauce is the best in the state. It's so good. So anyway, did that. And now I'm here talking into a microphone with you. So yeah, it's been great. So yeah, cool. Let's take a break. Hear from our friends over at Beach and Woodworks, and we'll come back and talk about a few big things going on in Birmingham here in the future. So see you soon. Beach and Woodworks is a locally owned and operated wood shop in Birmingham, Alabama, specializing in custom furniture and small home goods. Chris and Kanan Beecham create a wide variety of unique pieces of all sizes, ranging from cutting boards to farmhouse tables. Using wood sourced from Alabama sawmills, Beach and Woodworks creates affordable, quality pieces that will be a one-of-a-kind fixture for your home. So support your local woodworker and visit redmountainexpress.com/woodworks or check them out on their Facebook and Instagram accounts. Beach and Woodworks, turning your house into a home.
And welcome back to the Red Mountain Express. We got a couple of really big stories for Birmingham this week, but I want to open up with this one because it's something we've talked about a few times before. But the Jefferson County
argued about
with ourselves and guests. The Jefferson County Commission they met on Thursday and have approved a $30 million stadium budget unanimously. This is going to be an open air budget or open air stadium.
Well, it's $30 million to go toward the stadium. I think they're going to commit $1 million over the next 30 years. So I am not sure if they're doing this just to the proposed open air stadium or to any stadium. It might be just to any stadium, but the proposed open air stadium that you've seen in the paper and AL.com is going to cost around $174 million.
Right.
Now, we're not breaking ground yet because the city has not approved anything yet. They don't have anything partnered. They don't have anything partnered with some other entities in Birmingham. But this is a good first step. It was unanimously approved, which is a good thing.
That's kind of a big deal by itself.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows about the stadium we're talking about, the open air one, which I'm coming around to it. It's about 45,000 permanent seats. You can add another 10,000 to it, and then they're going to have about 90,000 square feet of exhibition space. I don't know if that is the 90,000 square feet of exhibition space is the field level, or is it going to be something that's built into the stadium?
The stories I read didn't really specify or speculate on that. I can't imagine that's just field area. Like, you'd imagine maybe they're talking about suites built around the stadium. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing I could really fathom. Otherwise, if you can't really, I don't know. That's tough.
Need a dome.
Yeah. Well, for that purpose, for exhibition areas, stuff like that, a dome.
Well, just because you don't want weather to take into account of whether you're going to have a convention.
Right. What if you had something scheduled like this weekend and it's 20 degrees outside yesterday?
You're grinning bear it, man. You're grinning bear it. But this is good. This is good news. You got one piece of the puzzle's coming together. Now I think the city council needs to at least act on it. If you don't like the current idea, let's come up with something else. And then you have to find some corporate partners that will help out.
And I can't imagine. Okay, so the city council may be the harder part. I imagine corporate sponsors are probably going to be lining up.
I don't know. I think that's kind of tough.
Maybe, but okay, so you've got a situation or a deal like the new stadium in Georgia. How much did Mercedes chip in for that stadium?
I don't know. They may just got naming rights for it.
I think they chipped in some money towards it, if I remember right.
That's a nice stadium.
Yeah, it's a really nice stadium.
You know what happened to that stadium this last week?
No,
Alabama won the national championship.
I do. Sorry, you caught me off guard there.
No, but this is a good story. I was not shocked by it. I think this shows that people feel there's a need for this. I think one of the pieces of this that is yet unknown is if UAB is going to maybe chip in. There was talks, I know in the couple stories that I read, that UAB would probably lease it instead of playing at Legion Field. But I don't think they're going to come in and be part of the funding process. So it's going to get done by the county commission and the city and some corporate partners. But it's a good first step. $30 million, that gets you to 144 left.
Right.
So,
which again, I think through corporate sponsorship could be done fairly easily.
$174 million stadium is not expensive.
It's not expensive. And from what I've seen, I saw some comments online from these news stories and people speculating that, if you could increase the budget to like the $300 million range, you could probably do a dome stadium. But I still don't think we need that. I'm going to keep arguing against it. I think if you build the stadium, in kind of the uptown area, you do 45,000 seats, you kind of have the same thing going on that you did when you built the Regions Field over here for the Barons. Keep it smaller. You're not going to fill up a 100,000 seat stadium. It's nicer now. We can have more events coming in. We have a better facility for the Birmingham Bowl.
And then we also have the World Games coming in a couple of years.
Yeah,
I think they want this done by the time the World Games
I certainly
come.
hope so.
Yeah, so I mean they're gonna have to get working on this as soon as possible and try to get some funding. And
now
there's been so many times that the city has come close to getting a stadium done. I know a couple times they've had even groundbreaking ceremonies, and then a lot sat empty. So this is a new city council, it's a new mayor. And there's a new attitude in Birmingham, so let's see if this actually gets done. I hope so.
And what I'd really like to see is maybe the city council come back and say, you know what, we're not going to throw as much money at Legion Field. Let's divert some of this and pitch in towards the new stadium.
We shall see.
That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
All right.
Another story that came out this week was that the Joint Committee of Economic Development and Transportation of the Birmingham City Council met. This was kind of composed of a new city councilman, Darrell O'Quinn, who's the head of the Transportation Committee and the councilor for District 5, and then also John Hillard, who is also another new city councilman, and he is the head of the Economic Development Committee and councilman for District 9, came together, and they did a few things. There's a video online. We'll put it to our show notes, but kind of want to go over a couple of things they did. One is they wanted to... they proposed a complete streets ordinance. A couple of cities have done this. I want to say maybe Denver. They're bigger, larger cities. Basically, this would make streets more comfortable for all, including, cyclists, transit riders, and motorists, and as well as pedestrians. Make active sidewalks, dedicated bike lanes, active roadways, green spaces. They see this as a way to, one, make the city more appealing, but also they know that if these streets are better used and sidewalks are better used, then people are going to stop in the stores, and that's where the economic development proposal comes in. So what they want to do is they want to create an advisory committee that will set goals and also give performance marks, and also set up a priority network of which streets to make one of these complete streets. Like, you don't want to go into a place where there's a cul-de-sac because there may not be a need for this, but some of the downtown areas and some of the areas that they're trying to revitalize, they might want to try to do this. It kind of is a first step into redoing parts of the city. So that was that was kind of the last thing they covered, but it was not the biggest thing they covered. The biggest thing they covered, and the thing that I'm most happy about, is they took two companies in and they gave presentations on modernizing our parking solutions in Birmingham. I have said thousands of times, parking in downtown Birmingham is terrible.
Yes, absolutely.
And so both these companies were pay-by-phone apps. Have you ever used one of these, Matthew?
The only time I've used a pay-by-phone app in Birmingham is at UAB's hospital parking deck.
Right.
You drive into the parking deck, even the public deck, and you get a ticket, and then when you leave, you have to check out in the hospital at one of those little kiosks. Well, they also have an app that you can use to check out. You can check out, like, when you get down to the arm.
Right.
So I've used some out of state before, but that's the only one I've used in Birmingham.
Well, there was two companies that gave presentations. One was called Pay by Phone. It's app-based, and you could pay by your app on the phone, but you also can call a number or go online. Like, so if you have your laptop with you, you can pay that way. Another one was called Park Mobile, which seemed to be a little bit larger. I went on their website. They were in a lot of bigger cities, and they have kiosks, but also an app. And the best thing about them is you can reserve parking. So let's say you're going down to Legion Field for a UAB game, or you're going to Regents Field for a Barons game. You can 2 or 3 days ahead say, all right, I'm going to go to this game, let me get my parking solutions taken care of, and then boom, you have your parking taken care of. They are both competing. Both are in some pretty big cities. I know Pay by Phone is in Boston, Miami, Minneapolis, San Francisco, New Orleans, and Seattle. Park Mobile is in Nashville, Atlanta, New Orleans, Houston, Austin, Las Vegas, San Fran, and Denver. And so this is how it works. You pull up to a space, you'll see a sign that says, this is parking space number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you get on your app, whichever one the parking space belongs to, and say, all right, I want to reserve it for 20 minutes. And you go in and you have a cup of coffee, or you're sitting at Starbucks listening to the Red Mountain Express. Well, it's one of those episodes where Matthew and I drone on about Star Wars, and you really want to listen to it. So you get an alert on your phone that says, hey, your parking is about to run out. Do you want to extend it for 15 minutes? And it's just, boom, click it, and it's connected to your Visa. The best part about this, whoever they choose is, there is zero startups cost. I mean, this is all, whenever they're ready to do it, they can do it. They can put, I want to say, stickers on every meter that allow them to do this. And they, both presenters said that every city they've been in, they've seen tickets go down, but they've seen revenue on any parking that included, that had formerly included tickets go up because people are paying for more parking.
And that makes complete and total sense. I'm thinking about it from my own personal experience. When I work downtown, or even when me and Laura go to do something downtown, most of the time, let me start that way. Most of the time, I don't have the right change in my car or on me. Like I'm a modern day guy. Like most of the time, I carry a card with me, don't even have cash. So if I want to park at one of these parking spots and I don't have coins on me, I either have to find one that doesn't have a meter on it, or I have to park illegally, which, that happens. You're there for 5, 10, 15 minutes. It's not that bad. But if you're there for, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, you're probably going to get a ticket on your car at some point or another. So if I can pay on an app, like just, pull my phone up, I'm going to be much more likely to give them my money, even if I'm only there for 5 or 10 minutes, to avoid the risk of getting a ticket. I like it. But I do have a question. All right, so if we're only talking about putting stickers on the meters to say, hey, this is parking spot, 12, and you can go on the app and pay for parking spot 12. If I want to reserve a spot like you were talking about, which I'm really excited about, how does that work if they don't have new meters in there to say, hey, this parking spot's reserved?
Explain that if you don't have.
All right, so it's an old meter, but it's got a sticker on it to say this is parking spot 12, and I want to reserve that spot 2 days ahead of time because I'm going to a show at the BJCC.
Right.
If the meter is just an old meter, what's to stop somebody else from pulling up and parking in that spot?
Well, I think that if someone pulls up into that, I'm not sure. They may have a dedicated parking lane for reserving, but if someone pulls into that spot, they're going to have to log on to their phone and try to park there, and it may say this parking spot is reserved. You can't park there, and so they'll be liable to get a ticket from the Birmingham City Police.
So I guess then what I'm imagining then is if you're then the police, you're having to come through and not only check to make sure that parking spot's been paid for, but that it matches, I guess, the license plate.
Well, I'm sure that I think the way this was explained to me, because I did some research, is that the city gets like a report that says these parking spots are automatically have gone over. You might want to go check them out, and so you can go by there and look. Or these spots had expired, and they can go and check. It's not going by and checking the chalk on the tires the way they used to back in the old days. I'm sure there's kinks in the system, but this is a whole lot better because I never have change. Like I cannot tell you the last time that I had meaningful change. I have pennies all over the place, but they're not taking it a meter.
Yeah.
So this is big. I mean, it's one of the. I think that changes like this are really important. It's not a huge change. It's not something that a lot of people are going to see, but it's something that is progress, and that it's the little things that really make a city great. And this is one of those things.
And I would argue that it is something people are going to see. The people that actually live and work and do things downtown on a daily or weekly basis, this is a huge change that they'll see almost immediately differences on. Because parking is one of those things that almost everybody has a complaint about with downtown Birmingham.
Yeah.
I mean, parking, it's hard to get. It's, because you don't have change, sometimes it can be hard to pay for. It's just a real pain. So to make it that much easier and bring it up to the digital age, I don't know, it's a small improvement, but it's going to make a big difference in a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, and I think that it would be important that if you have some of these old meters that still take change, it'd be important to kind of keep those, because there are some people who have flip phones.
Yeah,
and
sure.
You want to make sure
can't pay for phones,
right? And you want to make sure that they were able to pay.
And I have to imagine the newer meters, kiosks that work digitally and you can use an app and stuff for have to have some kind of change.
Well, I've seen some of these meters in other cities where it looks like a regular old parking meter. You can put coins in it, but you can also put a credit card in it. I like that, but the problem is you don't get a receipt back, and sometimes I have to have a receipt for expenses.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe that'd be stupid that I want a receipt, but sometimes you don't know if you paid or not. I don't know.
Well, especially if you're parking because you're doing something for your company, you want to be able to file those receipts later. But
also you have to come back to that meter like, oh my God, I'm still 15. I think I've done my 15 minutes. I have to come back.
Right.
So.
And with the ones with the credit card slots, I get nervous about those. I'm security conscious when it comes to where I use my credit and debit cards. I've had mine skimmed before. It's easy enough to go to an ATM or a gas station and fake those. You see those you can go online and find all sorts of examples of those. I have seen some online of these parking meters where they're not really secured, and so you could lift out the component that has the credit card scanner on it and replace it with your own model pretty easily in a lot of cases.
You've been skimmed before?
Yeah.
We got skimmed one time. Someone used our credit card before Christmas a few years ago. $400-something.
Oh, ours was not quite that much. And we got it all back, but man, it sucks having to go through that process of filing a claim and getting a new card. And then you're always wondering, how did this happen? What restaurant was I at? Or,
it's the world we live in, man.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting. I'm glad they're going to hopefully going to do something like this.
Any indication on when they're going to?
Well, I don't know. And they're going to present this to the city council. I will say this. Watching the video, which, like I said, we're going to post this up on the website. Watching the video, it made me feel a whole lot better about this process, because you could tell they were both the city councilmen were excited. They were asking the right questions. I think they were very intrigued at the pay by app. Or paying by app, not the company pay by app, but they were really excited about it. But there also was kind of a spirit of cooperation, which is a breath of fresh air, man.
Yeah, it really is.
So it's a long video, but I kind of encourage you to kind of just take a look at it just for a couple minutes, just kind of see what they were talking about, especially when it comes to the portion where they do the presentation, because it's really interesting. I've been to other cities. I've never paid by an app, but I've seen that, and I think it'd be really good for our city. I'm not sure how widespread they'd want to do it, but here's what I would say, man, everywhere.
I mean, even if you started with, let's say, Uptown, the BJCC, all those areas,
do it Uptown,
Regents Field, maybe 5 Points.
Yeah, I mean, but then you'd say, well, why not do it downtown in the financial district too?
Sure.
I mean, a lot of people are parking down there as well.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I'd imagine that's probably where most of the revenue comes from, because parking's free on the weekends.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll keep you updated on that story.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Anything else happened this week you want to talk about?
Alabama found another quarterback. Tua. I've been going around saying Tua in every situation possible. Like the day after, my wife and I had Taco Bell, and so I ate Tua tacos.
You're that guy.
Someone asked me what time it was. I was like, it's 2:30.
If you found out you were going to have a son right now, what would his name be? Would it be Tua?
His name would be Matthew Catherine.
All right, cool. So that's the episode.
His name would be Tua.
I don't doubt that for 1 second.
Well, that's been this edition of the Red Mountain Express. Like I always say, you can find out more about our show on our website, redmountainexpress.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And we'll be posting some show notes to the website as well. So until next time, I'm Blake Westbrook, Matthew Joyner. We'll see you next week.